So here it is. Tell It Like It Is host Bill Maher, as in Tell It Like It Is written on the company memo. Host, look at the panel he puts together to talk about the Ukraine war.
I can't wait. Is this the one that I said? Oh.
Watch this.
CNN senior political analyst and author of, anchor and author of Lincoln and the Fight for Peace, John Avlon, our returning champion.
Oh, so it's not Jim Sciutto. It's another guy from CNN, John Avlon.
Oh, yeah, I looked him up. He's a piece of shit, too.
Yeah, of course.
And she's an award-winning special correspondent for PBS NewsHour and contributor to The New Yorker, whose memoir is called No Ordinary Assignment.
Ooh,
Jane
she was
Ferguson.
a ninja.
Jane, what a great pleasure to have you.
Wow, that's a great panel of diverse opinion he's got there. That's living proof that scientists might not have human cloning down, but opinion cloning is coming along just fine. Because watch the opinions they have on Ukraine war.
And since you are a war correspondent,
And
I
a
thought we
basic
would
bitch.
talk about war, because that is what everything in the news today is war. I mean, especially the ones in Ukraine and Gaza and the Ukraine war. We haven't talked about it in a while, but it's big in the news this week because the Republicans want to link more aid to Ukraine to Biden doing something about the border, which would not be a bad idea in itself. I don't know why they have to be linked, but just to give you some.
But he was saying it like it was a bad thing, and then he realized, hey, wait a minute, I'm actually for doing something about the border. Did you notice that?
He's just not going to look into anything.
He's not going to look into anything.
He hasn't talked about Ukraine in a while? What were you talking about? Bud Light, Dylan Mulvaney cans?
And if you don't understand why you would link a policy that you want to a policy that the other side wants, maybe you shouldn't be talking about politics for a living.
This is Politics 101. Oh, you want more Ukraine funding? Well, you have to fund the thing I want. That's Politics 101.
The way he says, like, I don't know why it has to be that way, but I accept everything. It can't be fixed or improved.
Well, he's been wrong for a long time. We did a segment on Clinton today from back in the 90s where they were talking about, his long history of assaulting every woman within 5 feet of him. And, Bill Maher was there back then. Oh, well, I didn't know our system of justice is accusation is guilt. He was all on board.
He said,
defending him.
Bill Maher said that, that Monica Lewinsky came to Washington, D.C. with knee pads. He did that joke.
That was Maher?
Yeah. It was either Bill Maher or...
No.
Who's the
Michael Moore?
Michael Moore said that
on Bill Maher's show.
On Bill Maher's show, and everyone laughed.
I am a little surprised at him, but when we showed that clip, I said, that's exactly how it was back then. All these people who would go on to be the most ardent Me Tooers, they were all laughing at Monica, laughing at all the women who came out and accused him. Everyone thought it was a hoot. When Carville made his little crack about you drag a dollar bill through a trailer park, you'll find all kinds of stuff out there.
Yeah.
Everyone thought that was real clever.
Well, watch this. Let's watch this video and watch how they all agree, and they're all completely right. It's like a fantasy land watching Bill Maher. This is the guy who's supposed to give you the straight dope about politics. And watch this, what they say.
Stats. Okay. They've spent $111 billion so far on this.
Already off.
They want $61 billion more. I think some of that is for Israel as well. Problem is, it's a stalemate.
It's a stalemate.
Okay.
Not that Russia has gained all the territory it ever wanted. It's got Crimea. It's got the Donbass. It's got a direct path to the sea. Everything it's always wanted. It's a stalemate. That's hooray. That's what they always wanted. What? We got a stalemate. Okay, so watch this.
After 2 years, they say the front line has moved less than 500 square miles of territory have changed hands. 150,000 Russian dead. 70.
By the way, I'm starting a new dating service called Stalemate. It's for folks who want to find someone just as uninformed about the wars as they are.
Oh, I thought it links hookers up with Bill Maher.
Yeah. Stalemate. Their slogan is, I don't know. What do you want to do? Okay, here we go. Watch this facts. These facts he threw out that aren't fact.
Only
These are,
70,000 Ukrainian
Watch this.
dead, Jimmy.
1,000 Ukrainian dead.
What?
Bill Maher just said. Let me back it up.
150,000 Russian dead.
150,000 Russian dead. This is the numbers Bill Maher has. And how many Ukrainians dead? Now, the actual number is 400,000. They don't have anybody left to go into their army. No, that's why they have to pull guys off of bus stops and throw them into a van and conscript them. That's what's happening.
They only had 70,000
The average-
men under 25 in the whole country.
The average age of their fighting is like in their
43.
40s.
It's 43.
43 years old.
43 now.
And they're doing numbers like basically Russia has Hamas casualties versus Ukraine's Israel casualties.
70,000 Ukrainian dead.
He's 70. He's only off by a factor of 400%. Where do you, Bill? Who is writing this down for you? What kind of morons
I'm going to talk to my
write
buddy.
for Bill? You know someone who writes for Bill Maher right
A
now?
friend of mine, and I've been meaning it because I just have to know.
Do they go, well, I hope your friend who writes for Bill Maher, when you talk to him, says, well, of course I know the truth, but I can't tell Bill the truth. I'll get fired.
I didn't get enough time alone with them to ask about it, but we laughed about some other things. Remember, Bill Maher was going to go back to a show during the writers' strike. These are all guild writers. So
Yeah, he was going to do a show without writers.
I'm not speaking for my friend or it, but I got the sense the writers were like, okay, Bill, like they're not.
So now they're filling him full of false information to try to make him to embarrass himself. But
No, I'll bet a bunch of them don't know jack shit. I'll bet that. But if you work for Bill Maher, do you think he wants to hear? Like, I'm like, all right, I'm in that writer's room. And even I know how off those numbers are. And I know what it's like being in a writer's room where everybody doesn't want to believe the thing you're saying is real, and they're all wrong. And he seems like a guy that doesn't take he's like, oh, how could that be? 500,000. You haven't looked into it, Bill?
When he had Thomas Frank on a while ago, and this was in the 2016 election, and Frank had just written Listen Liberal, and he starts talking about why people have turned away from the Democratic Party, and that was the moment where everyone was supposed to be circling the wagons around Hillary. No negativity about Hillary. And I have no idea why he invited him on, because as soon as he started putting out his thesis about how the Democrats lost the working class, Maher just tears into, you're the kind of liberal people's eyes just glaze over as soon as they start talking. You're just what you're saying, it just turns people off. Just would not let him make his case at all. So yeah, if you're a writer on that show, if he's going to treat a guest that way on the show, how does he
imagine
treat
how
the writers?
imagine how he would treat it. So watch it gets worse. Watch this.
We're still having fights over territory and armies in both here and Gaza. So I know the people, I've always tried to be good for the people of Ukraine and back them, and I think it's the right thing, but I also heard a lot, you were in Afghanistan, right? Remember Iraq, in both wars, we can still win this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we couldn't in either one. What's your assessment on whether we can still win this one?
I think
Can I just say Amber Heard has a better chance of coming back than the Ukraine army does?
Legitimately, I think she does.
Legitimately.
Yeah.
But listen to his two experts. At least Bill Maher has some sense of history. At least he's got 100% wrong facts in front of him. He repeats propaganda from the war machine ad nauseum, but at least he has a sense of history. Like, hey, wait a minute. Haven't we done this a couple of times before in the last 20 years? Hasn't it always turned out horrible? Haven't they always said if we just keep fighting, we can win? And of course we can't. At least he has that sense of history, which leads me to believe that Bill Maher really is that ignorant and uninformed. He's not, he doesn't realize he's doing propaganda most of the time. He actually believes the stuff he's saying.
Don't you watch Club Random?
Oh, yeah.
So watch what his, go ahead.
Russell, I know Jimmy probably don't know this reference, but Russell, in Lord of the Rings, that king, worm tongues whispering in his ear, the king's all old and gray.
Yes.
And he
yes.
and he keeps whispering crap, and the king kind of is like knows something. The guy whispers more, and then when they finally get the guy away from him, he turns young again. That's Bill Maher's that guy. He's like kind of aware of something dimly, and then these two worm tongue. I mean, these people are scum, both of them.
Scum.
If you went to Iraq and you're saying the shit they're going to say now,
Watch
you're the
this.
scum of the earth.
Dangerous to compare the war in Ukraine with the post 9/11 counterterrorism wars, where America was really sort of fighting shadows.
Yeah, it's really dangerous to make an apt comparison and to have a sense of history. We should forget everything and pretend like Ukraine just happened and it's the first time we've ever been faced with something like this. So we can keep funding this losing battle against Russia. That's what we should do. We should just ignore history, ignore everything you've ever learned, ignore that fact that we all figured out that the military-industrial complex owns Congress and the corporate press, and they've been lying to us about every war in my lifetime. We should ignore all that. It's because you know why? Because that's dangerous. That's only dangerous to the people who have stock in Raytheon. That's not dangerous, actually.
It's dangerous to people being alive.
That's
that
right.
Would like to be. I condemn Hamas, as you know, Jimmy, but they are better than this woman.
Dangerous to compare the war in Ukraine with the post 9/11 counterterrorism wars, where America was really sort of fighting shadows. You know, they were chasing terrorists around the world. This is not a Ukrainian fight. This is not sending money just so Ukraine can fight its own war. This is a war against Vladimir Putin and his expansionism into Europe, essentially. I mean,
so if we don't stop, it's the domino theory.
God.
If we don't stop Vladimir Putin in Ukraine, he's going to go conquer Europe. He's going to go to Poland. He's going to go to Hungary. He's going to go to Germany. He's going to go to UK. He's going to take over. He's the new Hitler. It's the domino theory.
Yeah.
It's the domino theory. Even though Putin's been in power for 20 years and he hasn't done any of that stuff, and they want you to think, oh my!
I hope these people are like.
This is his experts that he brings on.
Yeah, I hope
he doesn't bring on Max Blumenthal. He doesn't bring on Glenn Greenwald anymore because Glenn Greenwald handed him his ass about United States being the world's terrorists and not Muslims. He'll never bring on anybody who, and I bet he'll never brought on Listen Liberal. What's his name?
Thomas Frank.
He never brought him back
Who's
on
his
after
booker?
that.
Because he probably didn't read their dumb books. They've been on, but he always has some he's almost like the pop culture thing where Harvey Kissinger is hanging out. He has those kind of people all the time, and he knows them as his pal.
Yes.
Like Cornel West. How Cornel West is a dipshit. He's the same kind of dipshit.
Let's listen.
this is a war for global world order.
This is a war for global world order.
That's Nazi-ish.
That sounds like world norm. It sounds like we have norms, right?
We have to protect global norms.
Geostrategic importance of this war is vastly bigger than any of the wars post 9/11, which were overreaches of American foreign policy.
But how long do we just stay?
But not this.
This is not.
Not this one?
Is not an overreach of American foreign policy.
Not at all.
This one's important. These same people told you Iraq was important, Libya was important, Afghanistan was important, Syria was important, Somalia was important, Yemen. These same people told you all that bullshit. And now none of that actually, all that stuff I said before that wasn't, this is important.
It's funny to watch Bill Maher is just stupid, and knowing Jon Stewart knowingly was bullshitting and it got to him.
Yeah.
You know, Jon Stewart was like, he didn't want to do that Condi and Hillary thing at all.
He did it though.
Yeah, well, he's a pussy. But Bill Maher is actually like willfully fucking stupid.
Yeah, yes.
He's like, I don't want to know things.
In this stalemate, I mean, they thought it was going to be World War III, and it's really World War
I. The reason to fund Ukraine is because we learned the lessons of history, which is that you cannot reward aggression, and it's.
I want both of them handed over to the Taliban immediately. Yeah. Both of these reporters. Let the Taliban decide what to do with them.
So, not that if you've learned from history, you realize this is another bogus war provoked by NATO and the United States. It's over fossil fuels, which is why we blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. They never even bring up the Nord Stream pipeline. They never even bring that up.
Have we won a war since World War II, by the way?
No, by the way,
or
no.
Or even called it a war? No.
They always, whenever they want to gin people up for a war, they appeased Hitler, and if we do it this time, it's going to be. What about the other lessons about how we fell for the Gulf of Tonkin?
Or how about don't appease Nazis at the end of the war?
Lessons of histories. Well, that's true. How about not importing the Nazis to run your space?
This
That's
is
a
just
whole
so
other
mind-numbingly on purpose wrong and backwards.
Look, there's a
Look,
sweet
they're
spot of
not-
supporting Nazis, and we have to find
They're-
it. It's after World War II, not before World War II.
They're not hired as journalists. They're cast as propagandists. That's their role.
Yeah.
That's what they're there for. They are to journalism what grape drink is to grape juice.
Yes.
It's a little reminiscent of the thing itself, but it is not the thing.
Right. I can't even remember what grape juice tastes like after
Here we
years
go.
of grape drink.
Far cheaper to fund Ukraine now than to let Ukraine fall and then have the front move.
I thought Russia just lost way more troops than Ukraine.
We were just
How will they do that?
the New York Times just told me Russia has been staggering huge losses. But now he's there saying, no, we can't. They're going to take over Europe. Russia's going to take over Europe. Whatever it is that could get people riled up to support this war, they'll say it. No matter what it is. Just like no matter what it is they could say to make people afraid of electing Donald Trump, they'll say it. No matter what it is, they'll say it, that Russia is so strong they're going to take over Europe. The next day they'll say Russia's losing staggeringly long. We can't stop now. So whatever it is, they'll say it. This is called as corporate news. This is Bill Maher, real time. Boy, real dumb time.
I remember I got a gig. It was a bunch of comics it's like this, you're doing fake stand-up about a product like Pop-Tarts or whatever.
Yeah,
You know, these interstitial ads.
yeah.
I remember going to do it because I needed the money. It wasn't even that great of money. And it was so brutal having to make a joke about Pop-Tarts that would in no way offend the advertising problem, things of Pop-Tart. It was such a hellish, it wasn't that much work. It was like a day's worth of hell of trying to think of a way to not want to blow my brains out from fake doing stand-up about Pop-Tarts. Okay? And these people, they must had that feeling where like, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to feel the feeling of pretending that this, like not offending the establishment narrative with my journalism, like an advertisement.
And Bill Maher doesn't go, get the fuck out of here. If we've learned anything from history, we have to keep funding bullshit wars. He doesn't say that. He's like, oh, good point. I'm glad my booker got you on the show. That's great.
Yeah, like he takes it nowhere. He just wanted to get that World War I, and I'm pretty sure it's not a good analogy with World War I. Besides the senseless bloodshed of it, it's actually not like World War I.
Right.
Well, this serves no purpose other than to program the PMCs with talking points. It's just telling people who have just enough to have something to lose and not enough to step out of line what they're supposed to believe. That is the only function this kind of so-called journalism serves. It's to tell you what you're supposed to tell your coworkers, what you're supposed to say at the PTA in your suburban neighborhood about what you think about Ukraine or anything else. And they hire these spokesmodels to put out those talking points.
The company newsletter.
And the guy who knows the least about the subject, Bill Maher, is the only guy kind of pushing back. The other two people who it's supposed to be their specialty, this is what they do all day long. They couldn't know less about it. It's like
that lady put on a ninja hat and went to Iraq, Jimmy. It was no ordinary assignment for a real ordinary mind.
I just, and Bill Maher does, again, and nobody of course at HBO, they don't bring anybody on that has a counter narrative. Of course, he's not going to bring on anybody who has a counter narrative.
Well,
Nobody.
Again. Ever again.
Ever again. He used to bring on Glenn Greenwald. He used to bring on Thomas Frank. He used to.
Why hasn't he talked about Ukraine in a long time? It's been going on this whole time.
Yeah, why wouldn't you keep talking about it?
And you could have found out they were losing. Like he just heard it hasn't been going well just now.
But he got the numbers backwards. Russia lost 150,000 people. Ukraine's lost 70. They lost 70 in March of last year.
Why
they lost 70,000 people. What are you talking about?
And why'd they shave off $2 billion off the 113 billion?
Yeah,
I was already lowballing it.
Yeah, why would wow. I would really like to know. I wonder if I know any of the comedians who write for Bill Maher.
I'm going to ask my buddy because I'm dying to know where he got those numbers. They're not even the numbers that people...
Give me a list of
Yeah.
Can you find a list of the name of the people who write for Bill Maher? I just want to know for my own
Yeah.
We're doing live comedy shows in Oxnard, California, Venice, California, Palmdale, California, Omaha, Nebraska, Des Moines, Milwaukee, Lansing, Michigan, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, and Boston. Plus, we're going to put a date in Edmonton, Canada, plus Vancouver. See ya. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.